Hi everyone, here you see the gessoed figure. I've gessoed both pieces and I'm going in for the body, and her body was covered with dents and those white spickles in the clay, and her eyelid split, so I needed to put on different kinds of colors of pink. So this is quite a heavy pink. Well, different layers of paint, that's the way I should say it. And then I go in with a lighter color on her body, and that makes it look smooth. So it takes away, the paint goes in the creases and it takes away the bumpiness. And then I go in with a little bit of gesso, and then mixing up some orange with white and a bit of pink to create a bit of a skin color, and I'm using that to shade and to go over the place that needed it. And then I go in with a little tissue to dab some excess off, and then you get a little bit of pink, a little bit of white, a little bit of skin color, and I thought that would look nice. So I think it's 4 layers that I put on. So now I'm drying it, and then while it's drying I'm painting the tail. And because I got these little pieces of clay on her tail, there are creases in between those little pieces, so I needed a dark color to seep into those creases. So that's why I use a very dark blue in this case, because when I'm ready with it you can really see I'm going to call it a fish scale on her tail. You see those 2 colors that I'm using, I'm alternating between the 2 of them, and I'm barely touching the clay. I'm just touching it on the surface of those of the tail, so you can see that the dark blue is acting kind of like a shadow, and that makes the scale stand out. Do the same on the tail. I'm barely touching it on the end of the tail. There's this flappy thing, and you see that it looks quite nice. So you just go over it with your brush, barely touching it. Go and make horizontal movements, and that it will just touch the raised parts on your piece, on your tail in this case. Now done that as well. Now I'm going over to her hair, and I wanted to give her golden hair, and I do the same as I did with the tail. Start with a very dark color, using a little bit of yellow on her to make it look a bit more interesting, but it is needed because when I go over with the iridescent gold in the end, then it will look very pretty goldish. I could have used gold paint, but I think it would look unnatural, and now in the end you'll see it looks more natural, well, in my opinion anyway. So I'm just painting the lady. I do like the way she turned out, except her face, but well, it is a nice little piece. Now painting the face, that was a whole different story. Starting with the lips in a little bit of red, and I used acrylic paint, as you can see, but I didn't tape that, but I went over it with white again, and then used pencils and tried different things to make it look pretty, because the eyes were too small. I couldn't come in with my brush well enough to make it look nice. I needed a very, very small, tiny little brush, and I didn't have that. But I'm going to buy one. Now, I'm off camera a few times, I'm sorry for that. Now, after painting her face, I started going back into her body, made a bit of a dark salmon color to shade underneath her breasts and her neck. on top of a collarbone just to shade a bit more. Go in with gesso again. Well, repeat the steps until you're satisfied. Now I use iridescent turquoise color from Yo Sonya's to go in on her tail again to make it shiny. And I really love that. Well, that's how a mermaid should look, I think. With a very shiny, glittery tail. I really like this phase of the coloring. Then I go in with iridescent gold on her tail and a little bit on her knees and hips. As you can see, to make it a bit more interesting and get some color variations on her tail as well. Not that much, but and then I go in with the color on her hair, and you'll see later I've got a little footage on how she looks now in daylight. And so that looks very pretty, I think. Now onto the rock that she's sitting on. Do the same, you know the drill. Start with a dark color into the creases. And I've done the whole thing, all the creases. I've covered with a dark blue again. Use the same colors that are in the little doll. Then I used a light blue to make the dark blue a little lighter, if that makes sense. And I'm covering the whole thing, trying to avoid the creases, but make sure that the dark blue blends. And then I go in with a third color using white to lighten all up, and then only touch the raised pieces. And then I'm almost done. I did emboss the rock and the lady's shoulders, as you can see, and her tail and her hair, to make it look like there was water on it. So this, you can see it here. This is all embossing powder, clear, thick embossing powder. And well, this is her. I'm not that keen on the hair, but I hope you liked it. It's just a fun little project, and I will see you next time. Bye bye, everyone.